Hello my friend, today we're taking a look at how we can achieve sparkling overheads with clarity that shine without them sounding overly harsh to our ears, and how we can inject life and energy into our drum room, all with just using 4 very straightforward, easy to use plugins. Let's dive straight in. Okay, so before I even touch this EQ, I like to give myself an agenda. I like to tell myself what I'm hoping to achieve from my mix moves today. As I said at the top of the video, I am looking for my overheads to have sparkle and shine, but I'm also looking to achieve the balance so that they don't become really harsh to the ears as well. I also want to make sure that I leave plenty of room down there in the kick and for the snare as well, and eliminate that bleed which I would have got from my overhead mics, and it's that which I'm going to address first off with this EQ by bringing in a low pass filter. And you can bring this low pass filter in maybe sometimes further than you would expect it would go, anywhere up to around typically about 350 hertz. Of course, use your ears. You can listen to it in conjunction with the rest of the mics, and what you're listening for is to hear that kick and snare clean up within the mix. So let's just take a listen. I'm going to bring my kick and snare close mics on, and I'm just going to engage this high pass filter. Off. Back on. Bring it back a little bit. Off. And you should be able to hear that ambientness of the kick particularly going away when we engage our EQ. Next up, we're going to look at a couple of frequencies again which we might want to be looking at to cut, depending on, of course, your source material. And the first thing is our good friend boxiness. And for that, you're looking anywhere between around 300 to 800 hertz. Perform boost sweep. Listen out for your snare sounding cheap and boxy. When you find it at its cheapest and boxiest, that's where you're going to want to make a cut. Actually, I think these overheads sound pretty good to me, but let me give you an example of how I'm going to work that. So I'm going to perform a boost. I'm just going to widen out the Q and just have a fish around. When I find that sound, that frequency which I don't like to my snare in particular, I'm going to perform a cut and then adjust my Q to taste. Obviously, the more narrow a Q, the less destructive you're going to be to the overall tone of the recording, but I tend to keep more narrow surgical cuts for more obvious frequency problems. Let's take a listen to what we've done there with our EQ on and our EQ off. So next up, I'm going to move on to a frequency band which is going to sound glaringly obvious, and that's looking for that harshness anywhere roughly around 3 to 5k, and it's a really easy one to find because when it hurts your ears the most, that's where you're going to want to make the cut. Let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to perform a boost and we're going to have a sweep around that frequency area, 3 to 5k. So let's bring it in. And of course, you're not limited to just one cut if you find a couple in there which are really unpleasant to your ears. But I'm going to make a start with this one around here. So I'm going to perform a cut, take a listen. Off and on. Finally, I'm going to bring in a high shelf, around 12k, to bring out some of that sparkle and shine. Let's see where we've got to with our EQ off. And back on.
One of the hardest things when you're working in your home studio is simply remembering everything. That's why I've made for you a free vocal EQ cheat sheet. You can grab it right now below this video.
If at this point you're still finding that your overheads are sounding still a bit too harsh, here's a great top tip, and that's to bring in some saturation just to smooth out some of that harshness from the overheads and those cymbals. Experiment with different saturation plugins that you've got in your collection. I'm using Softtube's free saturation knob here, and it's doing a grand job. Just take a listen. This is with it off. Let's bring it in. Let's take a listen with the two close mics on the kick and the snare. With our plugins off. And with our plugins on. So next up, we're taking a look at our room mic. Once again, asking the question, what do we want from a room mic? And I'm looking for energy. I want to inject lots of life into our drums via our room mic. I want to bring out lots of the sound of that room. And for that, I'm going to be using a compressor to help me. Going to reduce the dynamic range, of course, at the same time bringing out some of the ambient sound of the room. Starting off with the ratio at 4:1. Looking around a gain reduction between 5 and 10 dB. Of course, this varies a lot depending on your recording. When it comes to attack and release times, I've got a really quite fast attack time because I'm not relying, I don't need the transients from this room mic of the kick and the snare. The close mics are doing that job for me, so I can really clamp down and squash this hard with a fast attack time. And you can experiment with your release time. You'll find that a slow release time will give you more of a relaxed sound. A faster release time will give you more of a booming, energetic, aggressive, explosive sound. Let me just show you what that sounds like. So I'll just dial in our compressor with a slower release to start off. And take a listen to how much energy and explosiveness comes in as we speed up our release time. Just really depends on what you want from your drums. I'm going to leave it with a fairly fast release time because I want to squeeze out some of the energy. Let's take and listen to our compressor off. And our compressor on, and hopefully you can hear some of that energy from that room coming through. Next up, let's bring in a stock EQ again. I've already done these moves. I brought in a low pass and a high pass filter. So the high pass is just once again keeping that low end nice and clear where our close mics are, and the low pass up here is keeping plenty of space for the work we've done with our overheads so that they come through. I've also done a little cut for boxiness once again. So it's going to sound pretty different now with our filtering. Here's without. And with. Of course, it's worth mentioning as well, I'm working with this in isolation, just this room mic, that you'll want to work with all of the kit pieces on, not just this one soloed, so you can hear how the moves are affecting the drum kit as a whole piece. Finally, I've dropped in a saturation plugin. This is called Barrier from the guys over at Kit Plugins, just to bring in some more life and harmonics to our room mic. Let's take a listen. Barrier off and Barrier on. This is a great free plugin, this one. It's capable of some pretty crazy stuff. So a little goes a long way. And let's blend it in with the other kit tracks. Mute the room mic. Bring it back in. With our plugins off. Plugins back on. So that's using 4 simple plugins to get sparkly overheads with clarity that don't sound overly harsh, and how to inject excitement and energy into your room mic. See you next time.
If you enjoyed that tutorial today but you want to take your mixes to the next level, I have a free 6-part course for you called the Virtual Console. The link for that is in the description box below. If however you're really serious about getting professional mix results from your home studio, you want to take my course, the Virtual Console Pro Edition, and I have a special gift for you, a 20% off discount coupon, YouTube20. The link for the course is in the description box below.